All right, everybody, welcome to the Service MVP podcast. And I am Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. And today we have an exciting guest for all of you who are in the sales position in a service company. And my guest, his name is Devin Murphy, and he is with Peterman Brothers in Indianapolis, Indiana. Devin, say hi to all the people who listen to the show.
Hi, all the people who listen to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to have in here, Devin. Devin is, of course, one of the past students has worked with me in the before, and he's one of the guys who listened to everything we do, and definitely he has applied it. Devin, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got here and got yourself in a great position to work with a great company, and just give us a little thumbnail about a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go back to getting fresh out of high school. So right when I graduated high school, I was approached by a guy who was trying to recruit me into heating and air. And I looked at him and I said, I will never work in heating and air. So I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody. After that, after a couple failed career attempts and things of that nature, I ended up finding myself homeless in August of 2018. And I had to move down to Los Angeles, California. And the first job that I was able to get going down there out of necessity was as an appointment generator at a local heating and air contractor down there. I started off as, like I said, an appointment generator. In about 8 weeks, I had accomplished what the other 5 had done in the previous 12 months combined. Again, because I was operating under I better swim and not drown. After doing that, the owner approached me and said, hey, how would you like to run the service department, even though you know nothing about heating and air and service? So I went into digging into books, reading, learning as much as I could. And then in the next 12 months, we actually had a profitable service department pacing pretty darn close to what the residential replacement side was doing. After that, we had met this wonderful man by the name of Joe Crisara sometime in 2019 there, and started applying his pure motive service to our service department, where we were really absolutely crushing. And so come April of 2020, our sales guy kind of phased out of the company, and I took over the sales department as the lead sales guy. And I actually went through total immersion with Joe virtually, thanks to COVID there. And I was able to, in 7 months of actual production, do $2.5 million in residential replacement with a 60% close ratio, a $19,500 average ticket, only after going through your program. So I owe a lot of thanks to you. After quite some time with that company, I ended up separating ways, moved out here to Indiana, doing some coaching myself, actually, for a contractor that was a competitor of Peterman. I knew a guy named Seth Ure. He introduced me to a guy named Jesse Dobbins out here, who's actually the sales manager here at Peterman. And we met and got to talking, and he took me behind a back alley, roughed me up a little bit, and told me I need to come over to Peterman. It was too serendipitous to not be here. So I started here in April of last year as the training project manager, and have recently been promoted to run the new call by call project. So that's how I ended up here.
Well, Devin, definitely that is a very rapid rise to the top, toward the top, right? He's always still reaching for the next thing. And right now he's in the process of taking all the things we teach and teaching it to hundreds of people who work at that company. And definitely they are fortunate to have you, Devin. So today's meeting is going to be about, my pleasure. And by the way, thanks for giving me a shout out there. Nice to hear I have a little bit of a step on the way up the ladder. I could give you a boost there. Thanks a lot for that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Next, I'd like to talk now about the 3 things that you think. So you went from this rapid rise from appointment center to actually doing some sales, and now you're teaching people how to do sales, according to the metamorphosis, if you will. So as you're teaching people and what you've learned yourself, what are the 3 things that you think salespeople should know to be successful for themselves? What can they do from going from mediocre to getting traction, let's call it? So what's the first thing you think is important for salespeople to know that they should consider doing if they want to start moving on that road to success?
I think first and foremost, follow a benchmark. Call Uncle Joe and follow a benchmark, or any process really for that matter, and make sure that it's something that you can measure. It's something that you can do consistently, and that way you can kind of measure where things go right or wrong, right? The next thing that I would look at would be,
Hold
go
on
ahead.
here. So with
Yeah,
the benchmark sheet, having the
yeah,
benchmark sheet is important, or some kind of a process laid in front of you. I agree
sure.
that is important. How does a salesperson utilize that? So I know it may sound obvious to you because you're a rep. As you can tell, everybody, he's wanting to move on to number two.
Yep, I'm
Man,
ready.
we're gonna run out of things to talk about, right? So anyway, I know I want to milk this out a little bit, but nonetheless, how would somebody use that? So you get the benchmark sheet. You've actually to learn the process, obviously. So a
Right,
benchmark, obviously, in the beginning is used for what's the first? There's a couple of different ways you can learn that benchmark sheet. What's the
sure.
first step about that benchmark sheet they think would be instrumental for people to look at when they look at that benchmark?
It's going to come off like a commercial, Joe, and I don't mean to for your listeners, but I would say the first thing you do is buy a ticket to Total Immersion or talk to your boss and make that happen. I took it virtually the first time, and quite frankly, being in a group of your peers and learning that benchmark in an organized setting with instructor-led feedback, I think is number one. And that way, it's really easy to think you're doing something well or read off of a sheet. It's a whole different process when you actually have to graduate in front of a group and go through the role play and take criticism and feedback from somebody who's done it before and who's better than you are. So I'd say find a mentor in that. That's where I would start. After doing that, I would take that benchmark and place it somewhere where you see it on a regular basis, read through it, practice it. When I first started learning the benchmark, I actually made it a standard practice for every single one of our service meetings and sales meetings to practice one piece of it, whether it be, the initial introduction or whether it be the danger line or whatever it was. We focused on one particular piece every single day without fail to make sure that it's ingrained in my soul. Next, once you get really good at that, focus on making it your own so that it doesn't sound scripted. And then after that, just keep up daily and regular practice.
And then, and how in the end, you're using it to evaluate every time you go on a call, right? You're using it as an
Absolutely.
evaluation tool to see where you're at in that part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I
yeah,
mean, that's really wise. I mean, first of all, the benchmark sheet is nothing other than this piece of paper. To get a partner, or a learning buddy, or somebody who has used it before, it doesn't have to be Joe Crisara. It could be somebody who just like a Devin Murphy. That's what people do. They run things by. I see on Facebook all the time. I'm like, there's a guy who's helping. He's got peer motive service. He's trying to help people, right? So you get a mentor or somebody who can help you and hold you accountable to doing it. Step two, let's put it in place and let's teach it for training purposes for the whole team, so the whole team can kind of spread viral. And then number three is like, let's go ahead and use it to evaluate what I'm doing on every call. And so to have a process that you can train on, use as a team, and to evaluate, that would be step one, you would say there. Sorry, I didn't mean to fill in the sentence. I just want to try to kind of sum it up for people because it is a lot. The brilliance that comes out of your mouth is great. I just want to make sure I can, for the normal person, kind of sum it up and make sure they get all those points, because that's only step one, guys. That's what imagine what step two and step three are going to be like for the keys to sales success for salespeople. Okay, now Devin, do you want anything else you want to add to that, or is that
So
we cover everything there?
yeah, I want to touch on that self-reflection piece and that measurement piece. So using that benchmark for measurement, I think, is critically important. And you bring up a really good point there, and that's something that I carry a little planner around with me whenever I'm working in the field, or now when I go do ride-alongs and help other guys. Is I'll keep a little planner, and after each call, do kind of an assessment of what things we could have done better. We offer each other feedback. And so I would say that it's really good to have consistent check-ins and measurements on every single one of your calls. I think that's critically important.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that. Let's go on to number two. What's the second thing people can do after they get that benchmark? They're using it and practicing it and evaluating with it. What are some of the things that you now can do for number two, the second key to success for the salesperson?
To be honest with you, you got to take a look inside yourself, and you got to realize what your motives are. You talk about pure motives, and you break them down in a very spectacular way, but there's another piece to it that I've come to realize, and that's when you chase money or you chase sales, they tend to run away. But when you try to create solutions and help people, money becomes, abundant, and your sales become abundant. And so when you turn inward and you look at what your true motivations are, I think that you'll have much greater success. To give an example of that, I recently had a technician of mine, probably one of the best technicians here in all of Peterman. We were going through the process, we were learning, and he calls me after 2 or 3 weeks of great success. And he's like, man, I'm just not selling anything. I'm just not, this benchmark's not working. It stopped working. I don't know what happened. And so we had a moment of, all right, you ready for some feedback? And he said, okay, yeah, I'm ready for some feedback. And I said, what are your intentions in these calls? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, I'm trying to sell tickets. That's your problem. Go in there, provide the best customer service you possibly can, educate the customer as best you possibly can, and find problems, provide solutions, and that's how you'll gain success. He called me after his next call, and had a $5,000 ticket on a maintenance. So I mean, there's a lot of that in there.
I think it happens to me all the time. I tell people all the time, I go on a call, I try and show off and say, I'm going to show people I can sell a bunch of stuff. And I always flop. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a friend with people. I don't care. I'm not going to care what I sell. I'm just going to worry about making a friend, see if I can help these people find a solution that's right for them. And then all of a sudden I sell 42,000 or whatnot.
I mean,
it's crazy how the solution, crazy how it happens. Isn't it like that?
Yeah, no, 100%. It all comes down to what you're trying to do, and the customer can read off of that as well. They can sniff out your I don't know if I can curse on here, but they can sniff out your BS real quick, right? They can feel your intentions. And to give an example of that, actually, I went up head to head with Peterman. This is part of why I'm here now. On a sale where they were quoting about $45,000 for a new replacement. I was able to sell a $91,000 job to the same customer because I took the time to really solve their problem. I listened to the customer. I wasn't there to make a big sale. Next thing you know, big sale. So absolutely.
Yeah, I think the big sale arrives when the great relationship arrives. Because really, I'd say the only thing that can differentiate us is that emotional contribution. What do you feel about that, Devin? I mean, when you sell people that kind of a job, what's the relationship like for you at the end of those calls?
It's funny that you say relationship. I think you also have to walk a fine line with relationships. I think you have to establish yourself as a professional, and you got to show that you truly care. But I would say that the level of relationship that I have with that person is a lifelong friend now, and they feel like I'm their. I'm going to steal your words. They feel like I'm their personal concierge into great service, and it's all the difference. It really is. Again, they can smell your intentions. They can tell you care for them and their family, and that makes for a great relationship.
Well, thank you, Devin. And so that's key number 2, which is the intention or the motivation. I call it the pure motives, of course. Seem like no matter what, we always, the biggest thing about pure motives, I think, is that even if we don't get the job, at least we know we went about it in the right way and that our intentions were good. And nobody could say, we tried to overcharge them or gouge them. It's like we know what we were doing and the reason why we were doing it. I think if we can live it, how important is it that we can look ourselves in the mirror, Devin, and say, they may not have gone with us and they may have said some things that I didn't really like, but I can still live it myself at the end of the day. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. I think that, that goes into your mindset every single day, right? If you're offering good quality service, you're going in there with pure motives, you'll find that you feel better about yourself, and that level of happiness or contentment will transfer into your following days. So, I mean, absolutely.
So those of you who are struggling, I'd say, you know what? First of all, let's stop worrying about selling something. The first thing is getting people to sell themselves on the fact that they have somebody who is looking out for their best interest and not yours. That's number 2. Number 3, Devin, it's been, I always say good times start on time, but great ones undone. We're gonna have a hard time with this because you have so many golden nuggets here for us. If you don't mind, let's go on to number 3 now, Devin. What's the third thing you think a key to sales success would be in the service business?
It's funny. I had to really, when you started this whole thing, you prefaced with 3 things, and I really had to think about it. And it really comes down to the relationship with your team. I think that, we can promise all of this great service, and we can offer all of this great service, but without our team to fulfill that service, and without them having trust in us and us having trust in them, we can't truly offer a great service and stand behind our work. And our reputation is very difficult to build. Our credibility is very difficult to build, but it is very quickly the first thing that can be torn away from you. So I think that having the relationship with your installers, with your turnover technicians, with your dispatch, with everybody as a sales professional is critically important. Training them to maintain the level of quality, making sure that you're aligned on speaking the same language. And then again, making sure that we know what we can do better to make it easier for them to fulfill our sales.
Yeah, because I've always noticed that the salesperson who struggles is kind of puts himself on an island away from the team. I think that's a good point there. That you're coming in or you're making a phone call at the very minimum to explain the job you sold to the installation team, so they know what's at the heart of what was the intention behind the sale. We like take number 2 and transfer that to the installation team, so they got a little fire in their belly to do things with the same motivation that you intended, right? Number 2, not
Absolutely.
even the service techs. Make sure the service techs are, you can't, if you don't help your service techs and you are trying to help them, they're not going to help you with the lead turnovers, right? It's a obligation that sort of takes place with that. And then the management of the company, it's like, yeah, you need to make their job easier by making sure you have all the data, the photographs, the information that's needed, so the customer history can be kind of vetted out, so the people in the office love you too. So I think if you give to the office the information that they're supposed to get, they're like, now this guy makes it easy on us. We love this guy. The service people, like, this guy helps me sell even repair calls. He doesn't even ask for anything, but I feel obligated to give him a lead turnover. And the installation people, like, it's a pleasure to do this guy's jobs, right? I mean, seriously, if you did it that way, it's really, I know you said a little simple thing, but I know I'm expanding on this, probably too much.
I love it.
But I think when you put yourself not on the island, but as part of a circle that works as a unit, really there's no way a salesperson can fail, because everybody is now rooting for you and finding ways to help you succeed. We just say that's important. How many, like, when you do that together, everybody's trying to help you, not just the wind is at your back and not at your face. Make sense there?
Absolutely. So the more that I can empower my team, the more that I can educate my team, the more that we can work together, the better service and the more service that we can provide. But also, one of the things I made a habit of is every install I'd order pizza and food and sandwiches, breakfast burritos, whatever it was. And I made sure that I always took care of the install team. And then we'd actually go out, and I'd open up a bar tab and let them eat and drink and do whatever they needed to do. Because when I had to call them on a cold Saturday morning to come out and do a same day install when they planned on taking it off and spending it with their family, that law of reciprocity kicks in. It's, okay, well, he's willing to buy me food. He's willing to take care of me. He's willing to listen to, what I've got going on in my life. I can sacrifice a Saturday for him and for a customer and come out there and provide a good quality service. Same thing with Sunday installs. And so that really kind of catapulted me ahead of other, salespeople and comfort advisors, because again, I had built the relationship. They would drop everything to come do an install for me. So that relationship is critically important. And that also goes into your dispatch, right? As much as I hate to admit it, I did get a little bit of favoritism. So sometimes when it was like, all right, well, they're already credit ready and they know it's going to be 40 grand. Well, who are we going to send? It doesn't make sense to send Devin because he's way over here, but you know what? He actually bought me breakfast the other day and took care of me. I think I'm going to offer it to him first. We're going to get him over here, right? They find a way to work it into your schedule. And so again, you as objective as they try to be, this is a subjective business. So be good to your people.
I think really, if I look at the theme of this call, it is the friendship and relationship you create with the clients, with your coworkers. If you do that, then who really wins is the clients of Peterman. Let me just backtrack here. A guy from LA who worked in a call center making outbound calls becomes some hotshot sales guy for about 7 months, then moves his way out to Indianapolis. Imagine people in Indianapolis like, who's this dude? I can imagine the skepticism that the team must have had when you landed on the ground and, wait, why did we hire this dude? Why is this guy we're listening to this dude? And it's like the credibility you built by saying, you know what, I'm not going to worry about me and my job. First part of my job is to establish this friendship and my team, let my team know that I support them and that that I need their support too. That it's a game, it's a team game. I think more salespeople would realize that it's like if you just would enroll the support of your team and do something with the character you have to earn that respect, that would put you in a favorite position so many times, so many ways. Devin, why don't you give us some final thoughts here before we wrap it up? We got some time here, so take your time.
Perfect.
Give us some final thoughts on what you think. If you were with me at one of those bars and you had open tab, sounds like a tempting proposition there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do that next. Sounds like we have to do that sometime. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about what's the overall, anything else you'd like to say to those people.
Sure. So you actually reminded me of how I was able to build that credibility. So absolutely, when I first started at Peterman, there was like a uproar and ripple effect of who the hell is this guy and why is he here and what's he
Right.
doing and why is he trying to change all this stuff? And so the only way to overcome that was really to get to know each person and see what I could do for each person. So I made it a point to meet with each department head, have one-on-ones with as many people as I possibly could and say, hey, what's a pain point for you and how can I help? Well, this isn't, in your job description, this, that, and the thing. Doesn't matter. How can I help, right? And offer as much help and feedback as possible to everybody to get that buy-in and support. And now I have a great relationship with the entire team who was skeptical about bringing me on in the first place. So I'm glad you brought that up. It really comes down to that relationship. And when you look at pure mode of service and you look at any, the greatest purpose, right? The only purpose really is service to others. And you have to be willing to put in that work before the law of reciprocity kicks in. So that's pretty much all I have there, Joe. And as far as the open bar tab, I believe that since we're coming out to total immersion yet again, or we're coming out to your trainings yet again, we're going to be there. It's going to be your open bar tab, but I'm more than willing to take you out from there too.
Well, we can definitely work that out. I definitely can elbow up to have an adult beverage with you, and definitely it'll be worth every single penny. It's an investment, Devin. Don't worry about it. I know it's like an investment. Every dollar. Let's put it this way: every dollar that every minute I've invested in you has come back thousandfold, and every dollar you've invested in us, I hope, has done the same thing for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, when we first started this relationship with Peterman, what was it you said to me? You said it's kind of like the first taste. First taste is almost like it's almost like a drug dealer, right? You get a little hit, and then you just keep on coming back. So we're going to keep on coming back.
Give you the good stuff to try some of the good stuff, right? And then you'll want to come back and give more. Devin, thanks so much for taking your time out of your busy day to be here with us, and our listeners, thank you, and I thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Hold on. Stop the recording right there.